Okay, howdy all you knuckleheads, numbskulls, and imbeciles. Welcome to Moe'sMods, coming to you from sunny California today. Today we're going to go over the game screen layout. I'm going to show you how to manipulate items on your screen. I'm going to show you how you can save a layout file, how you can load that layout file, and then I'm going to show you a little trick on how you can edit the layout file and fine-tune the placement of items on your screen, so you can get your game screen layout to be absolutely perfect. So what do you say? Let's get going. Okay, so here we have a pretty generic Stratomatic PC baseball game screen. These little items on the screen with the gray borders, I call them frames. I'm not 100% sure that's what they're called, but so for the purposes of this tutorial, we'll call them frames. Things are just kind of laid out haphazardly. I did that on purpose so that I can show you how you can move things around on the screen, and then we'll get into that layout file. Now, I mentioned this in one of my previous videos, but I'll just go through it again. You'll notice that there are no player card images on the screen. I purchased the player card images with my copy, but they don't appear on the screen now. If I roll my mouse over the dice, you'll see the card images appear right over here in this area. And like I said before, I'm not sure if that's a feature or a bug, but my guess is it's probably something that they wanted to do. They did it intentionally. So, but if you would rather see the card images on the screen all the time without having to roll your mouse over it, all you need to do is move whatever frame or item on the screen that touches one of those card image frames. So for example, this lineup box here, it's laid in pretty much the same spot as the lineup card. So I'm going to move this box over. Now, to show you how to move an item on the screen, you need to click your mouse on one of these borders. So this gray area here, that's the border of the frame. If you click on the border, you'll get you see these little square dots, those are called handles. Now that you've selected this item, you can move it around on the screen. So I'm going to take this and just move it out of the way just to show you, okay, so now the player card images are on the screen. You'll also notice that I have this frame kind of conflicting with that frame a little bit. So in the end, I don't really want that one to stay there. So let's just say we wanted to move some of these things around and fine-tune the screen and try and make it look a little bit better. When you do that, you can there's an option in the game where you can save where you place these items. That's called a layout file. So if I go to Options and I see this Game Screen Layout option, I'll click on that. And this is where we do setting up some of the defaults, but also you'll see down here there's a couple of buttons. One says load layout, one says save layout. So I'm going to save this layout here, and we're just going to call it a generic layout. So I'm going to say save layout. You'll notice we're in the Stratomatic PC baseball game data folder. There's a couple already there. I'm going to call this one game screen layout generic. So now I save that layout, and if ever I want to reload this layout, all I need to do is use that game screen layout. The game screen generic layout. So what I'm going to do here is load one of the other layouts that I have, and we'll just take a look at how these look. This one's just called game screen layout. Yeah, this looks like this is one that I was probably tinkering with a little bit, and then we'll load that last layout I got in there. So as you can see, you can load these layouts after you save them, and pretty much set up different layouts. One day you can have your screen set up a certain way. The next day you can have it set up another way. So that's how you load a layout. That's how you save a layout. We're going to get into some more detail on how the layout file works. But before I do that, I want to show you a few things too about how you can set up the game screen layout. In addition to moving these items around. So if we go to the options and go back to this game screen layout, you see tons of different features that you can select. So for example here, the layout, you can take what's called an automatic layout, or you can take this custom layout. Let's see what the automatic layout looks like. So I'm just going to check that box. There you go. So this is Stratomatic's automatic setup. So it's actually pretty nice. I mean, you roll your mouse over the dice, you get you won't see your player image cards until you roll over the dice. But there you go. This is pretty much the standard that you start with. But now this is automatic, so no matter what, you come into every game, it's always going to set the screen up like this. So I'm going to go back and change that to a custom layout. That way I can change these things around. And when I go to custom, you notice things didn't change. Well, that's because whenever you create a layout and move items on the screen, it's going to stay that way until you either save that layout and load another one. And that's just how it's going to end up. So if you were to load this layout, and just quit your game without saving the layout, without doing anything, and came back to another game, you're still going to get this screen. Excuse me. So the other options that are available in the game screen layout, we have ballpark info. So that's this little box right here, I believe. And you can have it show on the field or show on the frame. So when it says show on the field, it means whatever you have this baseball image frame, it's going to show those ballpark info within that frame in the lower right hand corner. Same goes for the scoreboard locations, which we have up here. So if you say on the field, it's going to show up in the frame that shows your ballpark image. If we check on this box and say show it in a frame, this is going to show it in its own individual frame. So I'm going to change that, and now you'll see the scoreboard is over here, which I can now move around if I want. And I'm not even sure what happened to, oh, here we go. Here's the ballpark information. So there you go. You can either have it in a frame, or you can also put it, on the field. So I'm going to go back and reset those, put them back on the field. Other options that you have is the scoreboard type. Right here, it's set to small. You can pick large and out of town. The large one will give you all 9 innings across the scoreboard here, and then the out of town will give out of town scores from other games that are being played if you're playing in a league. If you do an unscheduled game like I'm doing here, you won't get the out of town scores. Now, some other options you can change on the screen are things like actual stats, game stats, cards, replay stats, so on. So based on what you select, these items in these frames may display or disappear. So it's up to you. You don't choose the items that you want displayed. You don't have to show everything. You could really streamline it and pretty much hide all this stuff if you wanted to. Now, in addition to hiding and displaying these items on the screen, you can also change things like the font for the scoreboard. So right here we have the scoreboard. You can change that font. Right here, the default size is 14. You can make that a bigger font. I'm going to change it to 18 just to show you what happens. So now we have a bigger font here. And then when we get into the game screen layout, I'm also going to show you how you can change the actual font itself. You can't do that in all the frames, but you can do it in this scoreboard frame. You'll notice here it gives you an option to change the size of the font, but that's it. There's no way here to change what the actual font is you want to display on the screen. Well, when we get into that layout file, you'll be able to do that. So, in addition to the things like the scoreboard font, same with the out of town ballpark, or I'm sorry, out of town scoreboard font, the names on the field, that are these names out here. Now, if you'll notice on that one, you actually have an option to change the font to something that you might like other than the default. Whereas the scoreboard font, at this point, you think there's no way to change it. But like I said, when we get into the layout file, I'll show you how to do that. Let's see, play-by-play color, change the color of this and so on. So as far as the game screen layout goes, that's pretty much it. How you move things around on the screen by selecting an item. You can move it around, resize it, and so on. And then you can also tweak how the screen looks by changing things here to display the items that you like most. And then finally, when you're done, you got a layout set up the way you want it. You want to go to the game screen layout again, and you want to do a save layout, and then give it some name that means something to you. So you might say Game Screen New York, Game Screen Detroit, something like that. So that's how you modify your screen layout and how you load and save a file. Next, we're going to get into the specifics of that layout file and then how you can actually tweak some things a little bit. So now in order to fine-tune the game screen layout, we're going to go actually open the layout file from Windows and then make some changes to it. So you start a Windows Explorer session, and then you navigate to C Stratomatic Baseball Data folder. And once you get in that folder, look for files that start with the letter G, Game Screen Layout. So this particular one, Game Screen Layout, we're going to go to the game, and we're going to load the Game Screen Layout. So right here, load layout, Game Screen Layout, and there we go. That's the one I just loaded. So that is this particular file right here, Game Screen Layout. Now I'm going to load this Game Screen DA layout file. And that's how this one is set up. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tweak this screen layout, but I'm going to do it by editing the layout file. So this was the Game Screen DA. Now this is just a text file. So if I right click on this and choose Open With, I can pick Notepad. So once I do that, it'll open that file up, and you'll see here this is just a text file. So we can actually edit information in this file. So for example, let's go back to the game screen, and we have this frame here where the ballpark is displayed, right? Now I'm going to go into the layout file, and you'll notice right here there's a section or a heading for a section called ballpark. Now what this is it sets the coordinates of where this image or this frame is placed on the screen. So here we have the top 27, so it looks like it's 27 pixels down from the top. The left is 94, so it's 94 pixels from the left. And then we have the right, the right is going to be 1536, that'll be over here. And then the left is 94. Now let's just say you had an image that was 1000 pixels wide and 600 pixels high. In order to get that image to display correctly or at its best in this frame, you want this frame to be 600 pixels wide and 1,000 pixels wide and 600 pixels high. So what I'm going to do is resize this frame by using the layout file. So the top, I'm going to set the top of this to 10 pixels. So that's going to move it up about 17. I'm going to set the left to 10 pixels. So right now, if I were to save this and reload this, this frame right here would move right over to about here, 10 pixels down and 10 pixels over. Now, remember I said I wanted this to be 1,000 pixels wide. So let's see, if the left is 10, that means the right should be 1,010. 1,000 for the width of the frame, and then a 10 from where it's at, where the left edge of the frame will start. So you take 10, add the width that you want, 10 plus 1,000 gives you 1010. Now the height and bottom, the height we want to be 600 pixels. So if the top is at 10, then the bottom should be at 610. Oops. So now I'm going to save this file. Now one thing I really like about tweaking things this way too is I can leave this file open, save it, go back over to the game, load it, and then continue tweaking it from the file rather than loading and reloading the layout. So I'm just going to load this game screen layout again. And what should happen is this frame here should move up to 1010. It should be 1,000 pixels wide and 600 pixels high. There we go. So like I said, if you have an image that's a certain size, you can go to the layout file and adjust the width and height of that image so that it perfectly matches the size of your image, and you'll get an image on your screen that'll look exactly like the image that you downloaded or tweaked. Another thing I want to show you here is if we go back to the game, I remember I told you can change the font of the scoreboard here. So I'm going to go and change that font, and I'll show you if we scroll down here, this is the let's see, it is the board font. Now I'm planning on giving you guys a document that details what the heading and section is and how it relates to the screen. So for example, this is called board font. That is this particular item right here. So if I want to change the font in here, I can change it in this board font. Now, right here I have the font set to Courier New. I'm just going to change that to Arial. And we're going to save this layout again. And now I'm just going to load this layout, and this font should change for us. So now you can see we have an Arial font there. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the default game screen layout file does not have this name equals option in it. I'm sorry, up here. So if you see a section, for example, this board font, and you don't see the name equals item, you can actually add that to it. So the board font parameters are right here. It starts, the heading is, or the title is framed with these two brackets, and then the next few rows below that pertain to the board font until the file runs into another heading with the brackets. Now, there's been a few things that I've tried. For example, changing the font for some of these other things. For example, the park info, or maybe the scoreboard, and sometimes it doesn't work, and that has to do with how the game is coded. So if you want, you can tinker with these. You might be able to change some of these fonts to something that you like better. But if you want to, this is how you do it. You need to know what each one of these headings refers to. And like I said, I'm going to give you guys a file that details what all this stuff is. And then once you know what the heading is, you can change some of these things right in the layout file and get this layout to look at, like I said, you can get these things to line up perfectly. Now, if you're like me, you might want to move some of these things over. So I'm going to move, let's just say I wanted to move the dice over, right? And now I want to move the play buttons over. I go like this, and it's, it can be tricky. You can, oh, that looks like they're lined up, and then when I'm done, being the maroon that I am, I don't like the fact that it's not quite lined up, right? So how do you fix that? You can do that by setting the items, or I'm sorry, setting the location in the layout file. So for example, we have the dice there, right? Let's see, let's find the dice. Right here, we have dice, tells you where the top, left, right. Well, I know that my ballpark image starts at 10-10. So if I put the dice at 10, then the top of this dice frame right here is going to line up with the top of this frame. Now I know that the width of this is 600 pixels wide. I'm sorry, 1,000 pixels wide. And this right here, I set at 10-10. So if I set the left option for my dice to 1020, it should be like 10 pixels to the right of that. So let's do that. We're going to put the left of the dice at 1020. We have the top at 10, and right now we have it's 57 pixels high. I'm sorry, 47. So I'm going to change that to 50. So it starts at 10 at the top, and the bottom is 60. So that means there's 50 pixels. The height of this will be 50 pixels. The left is 1020, and we're going to make the right 1900. So now the width is going to be 880 pixels. So I'm going to save this layout in this layout file. Now if we load it again, this dice box should move up and right to this corner. So let's try that. And as you can see, my calculations for the width of the dice box were incorrect. So I want to go back there and fix that right now. So the dice was the left, it was 1020, and I probably want to make it more like 1100. Or we'll make it 180. So that way it should be, 160 pixels wide. So I'm going to save that. Load my layout again. And now you can see it's not wide enough. So, but the point here is it makes it much easier for me anyways to set this layout, because I can tweak these items in the layout file and I don't have to move things around, save the layout. I can get as precise as I want with it, and I can just do the editing right here in the game screen layout file, rather than going back to options, game screen layout, save, and doing all that. So I'm just going to tweak this dice a little bit more. I'm going to make that 1280. And then we'll load this game screen layout one more time. And then there we go. Okay, that's it for this episode. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time on Moe'sMods.